In a world where a person's destiny is sealed at birth by a divinely assigned occupation, a young boy finds himself utterly alone, abandoned simply because he was born a thief. Compounding his misfortune, he lacks the potential for magic that most humans possess, making him an outcast unwanted by anyone in a society that values mystical power. This magicless thief, now a young man named Might, reflects on his past where he proved his worth not with magic but with skill, as part of a legendary party of adventurers. This group included the valiant arch-knight Farina, the devout high priestess Shiska, and the powerful automaton Enju. Together, they embarked on a perilous quest prophesied by the goddess Lunalith to defeat a monstrous demonic dragon that dwelled at the edge of the world, a creature that had once obliterated an ancient kingdom and threatened to unleash its minions upon all races. With a determined cry, the arch-knight Farina charged forward, but the massive dragon swiped at the party, forcing Farina to block the powerful blow with her sword as her companions, Shiska and Enju, stood ready behind her. The thief, Might, expertly dodged the dragon's attack, telling Farina to wait for him to create an opening, showcasing the practiced coordination between the two warriors as he moved with incredible speed. Even so, Might knew that a single misstep against such a powerful foe would mean instant death. As he narrowly avoided the dragon's attack, Farina called out to Enju for help, prompting the automaton to initiate covering fire. Enju unleashed a powerful Magna Flame Hexablast, a massive beam of energy that struck the demonic dragon, causing it to reel back in pain and providing the opening Might needed. Seizing the opportunity, Might used his Provoke skill to draw the dragon's attention, then swiftly dodged its counterattack with an afterimage, leaving the beast confused and vulnerable. As Might leaped back, High Priestess Shiska urged him to get back while telling him to focus on protecting Farina. Might reflected that while his thief techniques were useful, they had limits on consecutive use, and he lamented his lack of magic power, feeling he could never surpass this wall with his current abilities. Just as the dragon recovered, Might threw a small object that exploded near its head, creating a diversion and shouting, "Now!" to signal his teammates to attack. The High Priestess Shiska bestowed the blessing of the White Goddess upon Arch-Knight Farina's sword, telling her to slash the dragon's face, while Automaton Enju prepared a magical flash full-burst volley, urging her companions to keep shooting until their mana and energy were completely depleted. Enju unleashed her devastating magical flash full-burst volley, a continuous barrage of magical energy that relentlessly pounded the demonic dragon, pushing it back. The relentless assault from Enju and Shiska battered the dragon's head, causing pieces of its tough hide to break away under the force of the magical attacks. With the dragon stunned and vulnerable, Farina seized the moment, yelling, "With this!" as she leaped forward to deliver the final, decisive blow with her divinely blessed sword. The mighty demonic dragon of the end collapsed in defeat, its massive body crashing to the ground as crystals rained down around it, while a tired Farina knelt, breathing heavily after the intense battle. Suddenly, Farina cried out in shock, "What the hell?" as she witnessed Might flying through the air, his eyes wide with surprise, directly towards her enchanted sword which was still glowing with power. In a surprising move, Might used his weapon steal ability, snatching Farina's glowing sword right out of the air as she and her companions looked on in disbelief. Might landed with the powerful sword, but immediately cried out in pain and collapsed as dark energy enveloped the weapon and him, causing his friends to call out his name in alarm. Shiska identified the dark energy as a curse of death, a final, desperate attack from the dying dragon. Farina, cradling the wounded Might, asked if he knew this would happen, but he explained that it was merely his thief survival instinct that had warned him to run at that moment. As Farina held a crying Might, she lamented why this had to happen, while he, fighting against the curse's restrictions, whispered that he never wanted to make her cry. He then recalled his past, remembering a time when, as a thief with no magic, he had no place to go and survived by rummaging through the trash in the alleyways of a pleasure city. He remembered being a sick child, left for dead because medicine was too precious to waste on him, and how he was expected to die without causing trouble. Collapsing alone in the woods, he was found by a wandering adventurer. A wandering adventurer, who was a middle-aged, degenerate monk fond of booze and women, found the young boy and used magic to heal him, telling him it would be a waste for him to die there. This was the boy's first encounter with magic, a moment that would change his life forever. The young boy, inspired, asked the adventurer how he could become like him, someone who helps people. The man questioned why a boy with no mana would seek magic, but the boy insisted that magic was what had saved him. The adventurer explained that a person's job and mana are determined by the will of the gods, and that the pinnacle of magic, the occupation of a sage, was something the gods decided. Hearing this, the boy felt hopeless, believing there was nothing he could do, but the man simply patted his head. In his final moments, Might recalled the adventurer's words and then found himself floating in a void with a beautiful woman, wondering who and where she was. He vaguely remembered fairy tales about a door to paradise at the ends of the world, a place guarded by a demon dragon, and the land of the gods beyond it. The woman revealed herself to be the goddess Lunulf, explaining that the demon dragon had closed the path to paradise, but now that he had defeated it, the god's realm had reached out to him. The goddess Lunulf informed Might that the demon dragon had left behind a curse of death which he had received, and while she would normally take his soul to the land of the gods, she had granted him a reprieve for now, as his companions were hoping for his revival. Lunulf explained that by defeating the demon dragon, they were now able to interfere with the mortal realm, and as a token of her gratitude, she would grant him one wish. Might, initially skeptical of such a convenient turn of events, was reassured by the goddess that this was why he was there, as he had sought to defeat the dragon. He then confessed his deepest desire, stemming from his past as a useless thief with no magic power. With newfound determination, Might declared his wish to the goddess. He wanted to be able to use magic and to become a sage. The goddess confirmed that his wish could be granted, but it would come at a cost. His occupation would change from a level 99 thief to a level 1 sage, a completely different situation that would make it difficult to return to being a thief. Might understood that starting at level 1 meant he wouldn't be able to see his friends for a while, as he'd be restricted to areas corresponding to his new, lower level. He acknowledged this, recalling that his friends also had things they needed to do in their hometowns. When asked if he would tell his friends about his new life, he couldn't answer. The goddess added that becoming a sage didn't guarantee he would learn common attack or healing magic. Instead, he would learn magic that matched his own natural talents, a rare and uncertain path. Even with the uncertainties, Might's determination did not waver. Seeing his resolve, the goddess presented him with a door, instructing him to go through it to begin his new life. As Might walked towards the door, the goddess thanked the hero who defeated the demon dragon, bestowing her praise upon him. His occupation would change, and he would appear in a familiar place. Might recalled the adventurer's words about surprising the gods so they would humble themselves, and with a confident smile, he told the goddess not to bow her head, as this was what he had come all this way for. As Might stepped through the portal, the goddess offered him her blessing, urging him not to hesitate and to keep walking forward on his new path. He found himself in a forest, recognizing the nearby watchtower of the Pleasure City, Fortune, and realized he had come back to the place where his journey began. As he touched his face, he realized his voice was younger and he had aged. His original thief equipment was gone, replaced by new clothes and a storage crystal on the ground. He remembered how he could never use the storage crystal before because he lacked mana and always had to rely on his friends. Now that he had changed his job to one where he could use magic, he hoped he would finally be able to open it. Focusing his newfound power, he easily opened the storage crystal and was amazed to see the names of his legendary equipment appear. Legendary Thief Amber's Dagger plus 99, Unknown Shadow's Shoes plus 99, and Next Thief's Bandana plus 99. He could feel a power flowing through him that he had never experienced before and realized with joy that this was magic. He equipped his old gear but found that the daggers, his favorite weapon, felt incredibly hard to hold, a sign that he was truly no longer a thief. Realizing that using this equipment might cause him to hesitate in an emergency, he decided to seal it away for now. Remembering that a sage should be able to handle things with their current abilities, he attempted to cast a fireball spell, a basic wizard incantation, ready to test his new powers. However, nothing happened. He tried again with different chants for spells like Ice Lance and Thunderbolt, remembering that a sage should be able to use such magic even at level 1, but still, no magic appeared. He then remembered the goddess's words. He would learn magic suited to his natural talents, not necessarily widely known attack or healing spells. He realized this must be the reason his attempts at conventional magic were failing. Thinking he might need an activation tool, he decided to go into the City of Fortune to buy one, recalling that he had a similar issue when learning thief skills. He also acknowledged that he had a bit of a quarrel with the Thieves' Guild during his last journey. He arrived at the Beginners' Guild in the city, a place for newcomers appropriate for their level range, just as 3 young female adventurers were struggling with a locked chest they had brought in. The guild receptionist informed the girls that they don't unlock treasure chests there and are unfortunately out of stock on lockpicks. One of the girls, a paladin, suggested exploding it with chemicals, but the pharmacist of the group warned that could destroy the contents, while the third girl worried about a potential trap. The paladin confidently declared she wouldn't fall for goblin traps, explaining they found the box after some goblins ran away. Meanwhile, the pharmacist admitted she tried to use a hypnotic drug on them to get the key but failed to mix the potion correctly, a conversation the newly arrived might overheard, noting how crazy it was for beginners to be talking about such things in public. Inside the guild, Might observed the three girls, a melee class girl with good equipment but beginner-like behavior, and a pharmacist. He overheard them lamenting that it would be tough to open the chest without a thief in their party, a role he no longer identified with. As a beginner himself now, Might decided he needed to be careful about his behavior. But as he watched the girls struggle, his old instincts kicked in, and he thought about how easily he could open it if he were still a thief. Without even using a lockpick, Might simply reached out and, with a touch of his fingertips, unlocked the chest, much to the surprise of the girls standing next to it. As the girls looked on in stunned silence, Might revealed a key that had seemingly appeared in his hand, leaving one of the girls staring intently at him as a new chapter of his adventure began. Following the surprising event in the Beginner's Guild, the young swordswoman Listy questions her companions to see if they recognize the mysterious hooded boy who just conjured a key, but they have no memory of him. As Might quietly walks away from the three girls, they comment on the strange feeling of déjà vu, a sense of familiarity they can't quite place. Ignoring them for the moment, Might approaches the guild's reception desk, where he politely requests to register as a new adventurer. The friendly receptionist confirms it's his first visit and asks for his name, which he gives as Might Slade. She then hands him a blank adventurer card, instructing him to touch it to register his occupation and level. As he holds the card, a beginner's white card, he fondly remembers his old party and their top-ranked black cards. When he touches the card, his information appears: Might Slade, age 15, level 1 wiseman, which the receptionist corrects to sage. Might is inwardly relieved to see his new job confirmed and notices he has even reverted to an age appropriate for a level 1 adventurer. He then asks the receptionist a peculiar question: whether a sage can use magic even at level 1. She explains that special skills aren't learned through study but are typically picked up naturally through combat experience. She notes that the City of Fortune is known as the City of Beginnings, an area meant for adventurers below level 10. But most people register at level 3 or higher, making a level 1 registration quite unusual and difficult for finding allies. As she worries about him questing alone at such a young age, Might feels his face flush and his heart race, a strange reaction he attributes to his newly de-aged body being flustered by an older woman. Walking away from the counter, Might reflects on this new experience, realizing this is what the world feels like without the calmness, skill his thief occupation provided. He remembers his old party commenting on his unflappable nature, which he now understands was a skill, not just his personality. He also notices he can speak politely without the hesitation he used to have, pondering how much his job truly affects his very being. He returns to the receptionist to ask how he can discover what magic he's capable of. She explains that everything comes down to action and asks if he's ever accidentally activated a skill. Thinking back to the key he created, Might pats his pockets but finds it gone. He theorizes to the receptionist about magic that can create something from nothing, a concept she finds extraordinary. She consults a book and mentions rare job classes like summoners, who use similar magic, as well as advanced classes that use teleportation, but these are like fairy tales. She also brings up materialization, a magic that turns magical energy into physical matter, though she dismisses these advanced concepts as irrelevant to a starting town. As she apologizes for not being more helpful, Might thanks her, but his eyes are inadvertently drawn elsewhere, causing him to quickly apologize and look away as the receptionist places a stack of books down. She directs him to the bulletin board to find a quest or a party. While checking the board, Might sees that most parties are recruiting magic users of level 3 or higher, leaving him with no options for solo quests or party invitations. He wonders if the lock he saw earlier is connected to the key he created. Just then, he is called out by Listy, the swordswoman from before. She approaches him, explaining she isn't looking for trouble and swears it on her goddess, Iris, a different goddess than the one who granted Might's wish. She reveals her followers are hostile to the Thieves' Guild, which gives Might a moment of pause due to his own past. Listy, relying purely on a maiden's intuition, asks him directly if he happened to find the key to the goblin treasure chest they were struggling with. Might denies ever picking up a key, which is technically true, but Listy's intuition tells her he's connected to it, guessing he must be a rich boy from a noble family based on his refined clothes and speech. Though her reasoning is flawed, her conclusion is correct. Considering his options, Might realizes he doesn't need to rush a decision like he used to and agrees to help, intrigued by the girl's naivety. They leave the guild and walk to a clearing outside the city walls. Once there, the adventurers introduce themselves. Listy is a level 3 swordswoman, the quiet girl with a large hat is Nanace, a pharmacist, and the third, a confident paladin, introduces herself as Platina, or the Silver Flash, a self-proclaimed nickname that Nanace silently refutes. Judging by Might's appearance, Nanace correctly guesses he is a mage. Might introduces himself as a level 1 sage, confirming their suspicions that he was the new registrant from earlier. Platina and Listy, having displayed classic beginner behavior themselves, excitedly declare him their junior. Listy asks to test his ki, and Nanace expresses suspicion about him conveniently finding the key right next to the chest. Getting closer to the chest to inspect it, Nanace gets a bit too close to Might for his comfort, causing him to shy away as he remembers his old comrade Shiska using magic to improve her own poor eyesight. The girls also briefly discuss their own lack of bathing, a common hardship for adventurers. With monsters potentially nearby, they decide to get on with it. Might focuses on the glowing lock, which only he can see, and once again, a shimmering key materializes in his hand. The girls are astounded, realizing he created the key with a type of magic they've never heard of. He inserts the key, confirms there's no trap, and opens the chest. As the key vanishes, he feels a slight fatigue, recognizing it as the feeling of casting his first spell as a sage. The chest opens to reveal its contents, leaving the girls speechless. Meanwhile, in the divine realm, the goddess Lunalith is watching the scene unfold. She remarks with interest that a level 3 human, Platina, spoke to a hero without hesitation. She is joined by the goddess Iris, who Lunalith correctly assumes orchestrated this meeting through her follower, Listy. Lunalith admits she was primarily watching the hero Farina, and when questioned by Iris about allowing Might, a thief, to switch his job, Lunalith simply states that she alone cannot change the natural order, the world itself allowed it. As Iris hopes Might's feelings don't go against the will of the gods, Lunalith looks down at the contents of the open chest and observes Might's new party. She muses that he didn't simply return to level 1, but rather something more profound has happened, hinting that he is not just an ordinary level 1 adventurer. Inside the treasure chest, the adventurers find an astonishing amount of gold coins and valuable items, leaving them completely stunned. Listy, in awe, declares that she will now have to address Might with the honorific Lord, a suggestion Nanace dismisses as shallow and opportunistic. Platina, on the other hand, is overjoyed at the prospect of no longer having to eat leaf soup, a comment that inadvertently reveals their poor financial situation and causes her some embarrassment. Might observes the three girls, noting that their rough circumstances are plain to see as they discuss how to divide the treasure. Listy reminds them that Might gets to decide the shares. Platina dramatically declares that even if her body yields, her heart will not be corrupted, a statement that leaves Nanace utterly bewildered. Might, however, proposes a simple split, taking only 3 silver coins for himself, which he states is his share. He explains that even for freelance lockpicking jobs, the maximum cut is usually 30%, and since this was his first job, a smaller share is more than fair. He apologizes for his earlier aloofness, admitting he was just trying to act cool, a confession that internally makes him cringe at his own immaturity. Platina is angered by Might's meager share, feeling it devalues their worth, a sentiment that visibly embarrasses Nanace. Before the argument can escalate, they are interrupted by the sudden appearance of a group of goblins, including a large hobgoblin armed with bows and other weapons. Platina, true to her Silver Flash title, immediately takes a defensive stance, bravely vowing to protect everyone and telling them to escape while she holds the goblins off, which reveals her to be a defensive-type paladin. Might, meanwhile, calmly assesses the situation and turns to Nanace, asking if she has any potions that work on enemies. Nanace, flustered, reveals she only has an aphrodisiac, a fact that makes Might question her preparedness. Despite his calm demeanor, which Nanace finds odd for a level 1 adventurer, Might internally admits he is nervous about his first real battle as a sage. He knows that as a spellcaster unable to use attack magic, he won't be much help by normal standards, but he feels confident they won't lose. He sees this as a fated encounter and an opportunity for the three girls to experience success. As Platina taunts the goblins, they charge forward, and she expertly blocks their attacks, showcasing her trained physique. Might recognizes her skill is different from a paladin's special ability, more like the substitute skill used by the royal guard, indicating she has experience as a noble's bodyguard. The hobgoblin then enters the fray, and Platina, with a surprising lack of urgency, boldly proclaims she will take on everything. As the hobgoblin throws a powerful punch, Mite taps Platina's shoulder, and a strange thing happens. The hobgoblin's fist slips, barely grazing her shield. Platina is shocked by the lack of impact, and as she looks back, she sees Mite standing calmly. The hobgoblin, surprised by its miss, is suddenly hit by a pepper bomb thrown by Nanace, which unfortunately has little effect on the larger beast. Listy finds the whole situation absurd and tells the goblins it's not polite to laugh, revealing a strange technique called elegance that lowers the hostility of opponents below her level, a skill only those of noble status possess. The technique, however, fails to work on the hobgoblin. As the remaining goblins draw their bows, Mite steps forward and, with a swift movement, catches the arrows out of the air, a feat that astounds his new companions. He then confronts the hobgoblin directly, and with a single, powerful strike, defeats it. The remaining goblins, terrified, flee into the woods. Listy is amazed by Mite's strength, and the others question what kind of magic he used. Mite, thinking quickly, calls it a coin toss, attributing it to a magic-infused coin, a lie Nanace immediately sees through, recognizing it as sheer physical ability. Platina is embarrassed by her earlier declaration to protect everyone, but Listy reassures her that such feelings are what drive people to grow stronger. Mite reflects on the battle, noting that despite losing his thief skills, his physical abilities have remained surprisingly high. The girls analyze their performance. Listy acknowledges her own attack power is sufficient, but she was useless in this fight. Platina did a good job drawing aggro, and Nanace showed courage, though her methods were unconventional. Mite, unaccustomed to such direct evaluation, feels a bit awkward. He recalls his old habits of meticulously tracking his friend's abilities to survive and defeat the demon dragon, a skill his old comrades valued. As Mite prepares to leave, a wave of divine knowledge suddenly floods his mind, revealing the true nature of his new powers. He now understands he has a passive skill called Lock Eye, which allows him to see the lock on all living and non-living things, and a special skill called White Key, which generates a magical key to unlock them. He realizes the lock he saw on Platina was a part of his magic all along. Listy stops him from leaving, insisting he take a larger share of the treasure and join their party, an offer he accepts, seeing it as fate. As they walk away together, Platina and Nanace in the back, Mite and Listy walk hand in hand, a silent agreement to continue their journey as a team. A new adventure begins from a small room, setting the stage for a grand journey. At the Adventurers Guild, the party learns that their recent acquisitions, when exchanged, will net them a surprising 42 silver coins. The girls are shocked by the large sum, realizing the true value of their find. The guild receptionist explains that the hobgoblin they encountered had a bounty on it, as its features match those of a creature previously spotted in the area. She clarifies that even without defeating it, they fulfilled the requirements because showing a significant power difference can cause monsters to retreat from their territory, ensuring the safety of the nearby village for a while. The receptionist smiles, noting that their party seems much better off with the addition of their fourth member, Mite. She mentions that until now, they hadn't been able to locate the targets of subjugation quests on their own. Mite stands by, listening quietly as the receptionist acknowledges that she had only asked for his cooperation. Suddenly, a group of male adventurers approaches the girls, suggesting they join their party instead of staying in a group with another man. Another adventurer points out that an all-girl party would be better and admits he had also been interested in recruiting them. It becomes clear that the girls are quite popular and have likely been the subject of recruitment attempts before. Listy politely declines their offer, stating that she has no intention of joining any other party. As the other adventurers wonder who the new magic user with the girls is, one of the men who approached them becomes frustrated, questioning why they would team up with someone other than him. The boastful adventurer, who introduces himself as Brand Schwake, the strongest in fortune, confidently predicts that the girls will soon be begging for his help. He arrogantly proclaims that there is no one more reliable in the city than him. As the commotion continues, Nanace suggests to the others that they should quietly leave since the two of them are drawing too much attention. She mentions that it would be awkward if they ran into someone she knows, and they decide it's best to go. Later, the group celebrates their success at a tavern, raising their mugs for a toast to thank Mite for his help and to celebrate a job well done. While they eat, Nanace comments on how delicious the food is and that the cook must be very skilled. Platina mentions that this is why they are staying at the inn connected to the tavern. Listy reflects on their recent hardships, admitting they've been eating nothing but rock-hard bread lately. Platina then explains that their last quest, a simple cat-finding job, ended up being a waste of time because they returned empty-handed and the client refused to pay. Nanace whispers to Platina, asking if she heard Listy's comment. She finds it surprising that someone as beautiful and noble as Listy would live so frugally. Listy overhears and clarifies that she is not noble, but just a wandering adventurer. Platina proudly declares that she is the Silver Flash, a title she has given herself, though Nanace inwardly doubts that's how nicknames work. Listy explains that she and Platina knew each other before coming to the city and that they registered at the guild on the same day as Nanace. Nanace reveals that while Listy and Platina are level 3, she is only level 2. Platina then asks if sages are exceptionally strong even at level 1. Listy adds that while she thinks Might is an exception, she wonders if sages can use other types of magic. Might quietly reflects on his own situation, wondering if he is the strange one since he is only level 1. Might explains that the only magic he can reliably use is the key magic he used to open the chest. Platina recalls this, referring to it as the unlocking magic, a spell often used when a party lacks a member with the thief occupation. She then asks if he used any other magic during the fight. He clarifies that according to the knowledge he received from the heavens, his abilities are named Lock Eye and White Key, and that his power to see locks on people is not a simple unlocking spell. Platina asks Might his age, stating that she is 18 and Listy is 15. Nanace follows up, saying she is 14. Might shows them his adventurer card, revealing that he is 15 years old. Listy is surprised to learn that Might is the same age as her, remarking that it's encouraging to have someone so strong in her age group, as the information on the card cannot be faked. As they prepare to part ways, Listy says she hopes to see him around town again. Nanace, feeling pampered by the luxurious meal, says she needs to eat well and prepare for their next adventure. While sipping on a sweet apple ale, Might reminisces about his time with Farina and his old party, recalling that they would occasionally dine in town together. He reflects that he never had the luxury to simply enjoy a drink in the past. He wonders what his 3 former companions are doing now. Suddenly, Platina, who has had too much to drink, leans heavily on Might. Listy asks if he's listening to their conversation. Platina drunkenly mumbles as she leans on Might. He tells her she hasn't been drinking that much. Nanace warns her that moving so suddenly is dangerous and that she might spill her drink. Platina insists she's not drunk, a claim that is clearly untrue. A tavern waitress approaches their table with a glass of water for Might, asking the young boy if he has joined the girls' party. Might feels a bit awkward and says that they have a connection. Listy, flustered, insists that it's nothing like that. Suddenly, Might lifts a very drunk Platina over his shoulder, much to her surprise, as she exclaims that she will never yield. He comments that it's an easy task for him. Listy is impressed by his strength, especially for a magic user, while Nanace points out that his way of carrying her looks more like a kidnapping. Might, unconcerned, asks where their room is. As Might carries Platina down the hallway, Listy points to the third door. Suddenly, Nanace shouts, "Thief!" as a group of men appear. Listy tells Might that she will entrust Platina to him as she prepares for a fight. Might leaps out of a window and onto a nearby roof, escaping with Platina. He notes that the thieves are using specific techniques, but their skill level is manageable. In a secluded shack, 2 men discuss how easy it is to trick adventurers. One of them mentions that the girls' equipment looked valuable. The other man states that a carrier disguised as a merchant will arrive tomorrow to transport the goods, and they plan to fence them outside of town to avoid being traced. He then opens a chest, wondering what treasures lie inside. Suddenly, the thieves are startled by a noise. One of them curses, thinking the guards have found them. A voice from the shadows asks if that would have been better. The thieves demand to know who is there, asking if he is one of them. Might tells them to hold their breath as he moves with incredible speed, warning them not to run. One of the thieves recognizes that they are dealing with a fellow thief. Might warns them that he will always be watching and that they should not try anything foolish again. The thieves, now terrified, realize they will be in deep trouble if they are caught and that they have no choice but to comply, as their lives are on the line. Might reflects that the thieves' slip of the tongue helped him confirm that a woman named Mabel was not involved in their scheme. He then proceeds to a locked door, using his white key magic to open it. In the past, he would have needed a lockpick for this. He muses that his new abilities make him more of a key man than a sage. As he enters the room, he notices a pleasant fragrance. He finds a woman getting out of a bath. The water splashing and her damp skin create a serene yet tense atmosphere. The woman, drying her hair with a towel, mentions how convenient the magic water heater is and how glad she is to have it. Suddenly, the woman senses an intruder and spins around, grabbing a towel to cover herself. She confronts Might, who can only stand there in surprise. Without hesitation, the woman lunges at Might, telling him to behave. She attacks with a dagger, but he skillfully parries her strikes with his arms. Might manages to subdue her, pinning her against the wall. He reveals his identity, telling her that he is Crow. The woman, whose name is Mabel, looks at him in shock, recognizing the name. The story ends on a cliffhanger, hinting at a past connection between the two.